Yo, YouTube. This one's crazy. He killed a man with a wedgie. Yo, what the hell, man? I never heard nobody get killed by getting a wedgie. I got a wedgie before. And I ain't died from it. So how is this possible? I gotta see. 'Cause that is just crazy. That mug got crazy. Oh man, this thing taking forever. Oh nah, come on, bruh. So,
So
dang.
is it possible for someone to die from an atomic wedgie? Well, the answer might actually surprise you. Now the story starts with this guy, Brad Lee. And Brad Lee is 16 years old, living in McLeod, Oklahoma, and he apparently has a bit of a drinking problem. Even though he's only 16, he gets caught by police one time. A few years later, he joins the Marines, and I guess he drinks a ton while he's there because he eventually gets discharged, partially because he was abusing so much alcohol. Once he's back to civilian life, his drinking doesn't get any better. Over the next 7 years, between 2004 and 2011, he gets caught drinking in public and gets fined 3 different times for public intoxication. He also apparently has a problem with drugs too, but it's never
Oh
actually
Lord,
stated which kind of drugs,
Lord
so
have
I don't know.
mercy.
But you get the point. The man doesn't like to be sober. Now, I'm not sure how
Man,
Bradley's
dude,
family feels
tripping.
about all this, but one of his regular drinking buddies is this guy, Denver. And Denver is actually Bradley's stepdad. But they don't have a typical father-son relationship. They're more like friends. And Denver has a history of heavy drinking as well.
Friends.
Now, Bradley and
Friends is
Denver, they
crazy.
hang out often enough because he lives in a trailer next door to Denver and Bradley's mother. And Denver and Bradley's mother own that trailer, and Bradley is paying them rent to live in it. Now, even though they're drinking buddies, I imagine Bradley and Denver actually have a pretty hot and cold relationship. Because, according to Bradley, Denver used to bully him a lot when he was younger, and he was abusive to him and his mom. So that's not good. So
Oh
now we're in
Lord.
2013, and Bradley is 33 years old, and Denver is 58. And Brad's still living in the trailer next door, still paying rent to Denver and his mom, and still drinking heavily. Now, for some reason, around this time, Denver files for divorce from Bradley's mom. Maybe it just isn't working out, or maybe they
Because he
weren't getting
crazy.
along because
The
he
nigga
was
crazy.
allegedly so abusive. We aren't sure. But he files for divorce. And this is actually the 3rd time the couple has tried to initiate the divorce process. It seems like they go through this every few years. And I don't know if it's because
They
of this
toxic.
divorce and
Obviously, they
Bradley is
fucking
mad
toxic.
at Denver for leaving his mom, but at some point in 2013, Bradley stops paying rent. And he misses month after month after month. And eventually, he owes Denver $7,000. Now, Bradley's mom would probably let this slide because that's her son. But she and Denver aren't together anymore. And Denver isn't going to let it slide. He gets super pissed off. He wants his $7,000. And this makes things very tense between them. So much so that one day, Denver threatens to go over to his trailer and drag him out by his throat if he doesn't pay. Now, he never actually does this, but the threat is there. The next day, Bradley must be upset at Denver because he texts his friend that he's about to go fuck Denver up. So clearly these two aren't getting along. But that night, Bradley goes over to Denver and his mom's place. And he's hanging out with him, so they're suddenly getting along again, I guess. While Bradley's mom is in the hospital getting hip surgery. I guess the plan is for Bradley to stay the night at the house because the two of them are supposed to go visit her at the hospital the next morning. I don't know why he couldn't stay at his own place. I mean, 'cause he lives next door, but, you know, whatever. Anyway, so the two are
That's
together,
their business.
and of course, they
That's their
start
business.
drinking. Apparently, they drink a lot of beer until they're both pretty wasted. Now, as you can imagine, at some point during the night, these two guys start talking shit to each other. And Denver is really pushing Bradley's buttons. And he ends up making some comment about Bradley's mom, his own wife, and Bradley gets super pissed off. He ain't about to let anyone talk about his mom like that. So he looks at Denver and he says, "You're a bully." And this really upsets Denver. and they get in each other's faces, clearly ready for a fight. And suddenly,
Uh,
boom, Denver finally tackles Bradley into the kitchen, and pow, he punches him in the face several
shit.
times. And these guys are taking swings and they're grabbing on each other. And eventually, the fight turns in Bradley's favor, and he basically wins. And so now, Denver is either knocked out cold or he's just too drunk to get up, but he's basically out of
Oh,
commission. And Bradley is probably proud that he won, but he isn't done. He wants to make sure that Denver never bullies him again. He wants to humiliate him, and he wants to do
oh,
something that he'll never live down.
oh,
So he decides to give him an atomic wedgie. Now, if you have the luxury of not knowing what an atomic
oh,
wedgie is, it's when you pull someone's underwear up
yeah,
over their head.
yeah,
Here's a
yeah. That makes
picture from
sense.
the internet of what one looks like.
No,
And so anyway, so from here, Bradley walks over to where Denver is lying unconscious on the floor, and he grabs the waistband of his underwear and he pulls it up all the way over his head. And it's not enough for him to just do this.
Jesus.
He wants to show people that he did it. So he pulls out his phone and he snaps a few
Oh, come
photos.
on,
And he probably laughs it off
no,
from
you,
here. Then, I assume, he goes about his business.
bro. I know you want revenge and everything, but come on now, that ain't the way. I know you want revenge, bro. Yeah, but that's not the way to get the revenge. That's not the way to get it, bro. That's not the way. But hey, that's up to him. That's their problem, not mine. Just saying. Just keeping it real.
Waiting for his drunk-ass stepdad to wake up. But what Bradley is too drunk to realize is that the elastic band of the underwear he put over Denver's head is stretched so tight around his neck that it's actually cutting off his air and strangling him. And after a
Ooh,
while of not being able to breathe, Denver quietly dies of asphyxiation.
ooh.
Now, at some
Oh
point,
wow.
Bradley goes to check on Denver and he realizes that he's no longer breathing. And Bradley starts to panic. And he starts texting and calling his friend to come help him. Same friend he was texting before. Now, while he's waiting for his friend to get there, I guess he tries to think of ways to get out of this. And in his drunken state of mind, he decides the only potentially good way to explain what happened in this situation is to claim self-defense. So he goes around the trailer, trashing the place, knocking things over, and making it look like he and Denver
We gonna
had
see
more
that's
of
where
an
that's
equally
we
weighted
gonna
fight,
see.
and that Bradley had no choice other than to defend himself. Now, that doesn't exactly explain the atomic wedgie, but whatever. This is his plan. Soon, Bradley's
Exactly.
friend arrives, and he sees that the place is trashed, and there's a body on the floor with a wedgie over his head, and he realizes this is bad. So Bradley calls 911, and he tells them a version of what happened. And pretty soon, police show up, and they start investigating. And the place is totally wrecked, so they're thinking, yeah, it's possible that these two just got into a fight and that Bradley defended himself. So it looks
Yeah,
like
we'll
Bradley
see.
might actually get away with this.
Here come
Until.
until.
So it doesn't take long before
Bro.
police notice this whole
Bro, I
scene
love
appears
that.
to
I
be
love that
staged.
shit. I
So
love
they
that
are
shit.
immediately suspicious of Brad Lee. Later, the autopsy report shows that before Denver was given the wedgie, Bradley had beat him up pretty bad, and he had apparently given him head wounds that likely would have killed him anyway. Plus, you don't really give someone an atomic wedgie in self-defense. And so, bam,
Bam.
Bradley is arrested. Here's his mugshot. And ultimately, he takes a plea deal, pleading guilty to first-degree manslaughter, and he gets sentenced to 30 years in prison.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't trying to kill him. I mean, he wasn't trying to kill him, so I guess that's fair.